Right. Okay. So hopefully you can all see that. Excellent. So, is it possible to be more productive? Do you hate your to-do list? Do you want a better work-life balance? Do you just have a big graveyard of to-do lists that you've just hide away and pretend they don't exist? Do you struggle getting moving in the morning? You've just got so much stuff to do, and you've tried all the other systems and just none of them are getting there. None of them are working. That was me a couple of years ago. I'd got myself too much stuff to do. My to-do list went absolutely crazy. I was rebuilding a business after the you-know-what event. The event, I sound like, anyway, the event we won't talk about. And I just hit overwhelm. The reason I'd started my business was I thought I could choose where I spent my time. I could choose when I worked, who I worked with. I thought I could spend the time I wanted with friends and family and do the hobbies and some of the things I really wanted to do. But it was all lies. With my workload just building up and just all these things to do, my accounts was behind, my admin was behind, and I had all these projects that were just either unstarted or they just weren't going anywhere. So in the end, recognising that I'd actually hit overwhelm, I asked for help. Now luckily, I'd just joined a peer group where every month you meet up, you present a problem, and then the whole board will discuss that problem and we all go round the table. And they presented something, the culmination of that is they presented something that it was just too simple. So I was introduced to the Eisenhower matrix. Now I'd obviously heard of Eisenhower, but my history is a bit poor and I've little knowledge as to who he was and what he was involved in, but it seems he was a president of a country somewhere and he was involved in some war thingy-majiggy. So he was quite important and he had some quite important decisions to make to do with life and death and all sorts of stuff. So with the amount of stuff he had to do and at the same time obviously running a country, he came up with this matrix of how he'd categorise each one of his things he had to do, and he discovered that most things weren't important and urgent, which is really useful. Some were important but not urgent, and you can read the rest of the matrix. But fundamentally, I decided, that was simple. It just seemed too simple to me. But being the sort of person I am, I made it simpler. Because I'm a simple person, and if it isn't simple, I'm not going to do it. So because I'm not involved in the war effort, or in my decisions don't necessarily involve life or death, I've just categorised them down as I must do them urgently by the end of the week. It'd be nice if I'd done it, but we all know the truth in those items, and they're not urgent list items. So this is how I did it. This is how I've achieved my calmness and I'm getting stuff done. I only plan next week. Not interested in 2 week, 3 week, month plans because so much can change in a week. The short-term focus is really important. So I only plan next week. I have a template of each week, which is most of my weeks are fairly similar. I have a networking meeting on a Monday. I have certain things to do. And I also find that Mondays are quite difficult for me for doing any real brain work. So to keep things simple, I do all my admin and all the stuff that I don't want to do. I think some people call it eating the frog. I call it licking the toad because I got messed up with the imagery. But it's some form of amphibian is involved in the mouth. So so I get that stuff done on the Monday. Everything's broken down in hour slots, and that's really important because those 5-minute tasks actually often take more than that. I've got planned ad hoc gaps in there, planned breaks, and one of the really useful parts of this is as you're going through the day, you tick off and acknowledge the wins. We're very poor at actually acknowledging the stuff we've done, but we'll soon criticise ourselves over what we didn't get done. So because it's important, we'll go through it all again. There's no such thing as a 5-minute task. 1 week, 1 hour, gaps, breaks, breathe. Gaps, breaks, breathe. And acknowledge the wins. We're getting stuff done. So yeah, it is possible. I've done it. And when I set it up, when I started using the system, of course when I set it up I didn't believe it was going to work any more than you probably believe it will work for you. But I started using it, and within 2 weeks I started relying on it, and all I wanted to do was just get stuff done. I just wanted to be productive in the 5 days that I worked. Well, actually I discovered that I could actually cut down to 4 days. First of all it's 4.5, but then I've now cut down to 4 working days, and I'm getting more done in those 4 days than what I was doing 2 years ago in the 5 days and the longer hours. So my final question to you is, what will you do with your increased free time? Are you going to spend it with your family, your friends, or something else that interests you? Hey.